Cuffs are off, man. Get right. Too many left in these leagues, but I ain't gonna...
Hey everybody, Adam Rank here.
What's up everybody? It's Marcus Grant from NFL Network.
This is AJ Dillon of the Green Bay Packers.
I got to give a shout out to y'all at Get Right Fantasy.
If you are not subscribed, what are you waiting for? You want to lose your league?
Check out the Get Right Fantasy Network.
You got to get right with the Get Right Fantasy Network.
Best of luck with your podcast. Appreciate the support.
And you're tuned in to watch my boys at Get Right Fantasy Network. Get you right. Enjoy the show.
Marking nothing, but I tune every Friday. Strategies provided, I will lock in every way. So go and roll your sleeves up, yeah. Don't roll your sleeves up. And I'm getting down, cause I roll my sleeves up. And I'm getting right, cause I roll my sleeves up.
What up? What up? What up, world? This is the Get Right Fantasy Network. It's Friday, September 15th, and that means it's our Friday night Start Sit show. I'm Mike, aka Classic Mike, and we will be answering your Start Sit questions throughout the show, as well as full game breakdowns of all the games for your, this week for week 2. Don't you worry, Ross will be here in a little bit. He's running a little late. He's in the chat helping out where needed. There he is right there. What up? What up? Neanderthal going, go Jags. That's what's up. Rooting for the Jags this week. I don't mind that at all. Just a little disclaimer. Make sure when you guys are asking your questions, just make sure that when you put them in the chat, just make sure you guys put the type of league, half point, full point, standard. Make sure that you tell us your other player options, so on and so forth. Don't worry, I will be getting to everybody's questions throughout the show. Don't worry if I don't get to it right away. We're going to be breaking down the games, and then I'm going to be answering your questions right after that, unless it's part of that particular game, that I'm talking about. So, first and foremost, let's go through the weekly rundown of our show. Tonight is our Start Sit show. Questions and answers and all that. As always, I'll be back on Sunday morning. Answering your questions live again for last minute lineup decisions, making sure you guys have the right, making sure you guys have the right lineup right before kickoff. I'm also going to do some DFS value picks to help you guys out as well. Monday night, Frank and Ross are going to be back with their overreactions and waiver targets. Then on Wednesday night, they're going to be back with roster construction, buy, sell, trades, targets, all that fun stuff. So make sure you guys check that out. What's going on, Albert? What's up? Ron in the house. Rasta is always late. It's so disrespectful to don't cover for him. It's all good, brother. Next, let's just get into the Thursday night recap. I'll do all my promo stuff a little bit later. But either way, we had the Vikings versus the Eagles last night. Eagles won 34-28. I know Ron will be happy with that. The big story about everything, DeAndre Swift goes from having almost no usage in the first game and goes to having 77% usage in the second, with Gainwell being out with an injury. It was only a 4-day turnaround. He had some rib issues. But now Swift had 28 carries for 175 yards and 3 touchdowns. Geez. Whew, that was a game for him. They basically just started running the ball. He could have had freaking 3 touchdowns, but that, butt push thingamajiggy, it was horrible. Then they also, Devontae Smith had a good game as well. He had, 1 long touchdown, a couple of long catches, which was fantastic. Hurts, had a great game as well as Hawk, JJ Cousins. Brown didn't have that much of a good game. Goddard kind of swung back from his goose egg, but he was 7 for 6 and 22 yards, which, he didn't get a lot of downfield stuff, but he definitely got a lot of, those third down quick passes. The question I think now is, what's going to happen? Is Gainwell, when he comes back from to being healthy, is Swift going to be the every down back anymore? I think that's the biggest question on everybody's mind. Honestly, yeah, I agree with Ron. I think we can give up on Penny. I mean, they were about to cut him. He was a healthy scratch week 1. And on top of that, he wasn't even playing in the first half. Swift and Boston Scott got most of the touches. Then all of a sudden Scott goes out with a concussion, and then it's like, oh, I have no other choice. So it is what it is. Oh, we got the BMO Fantasy Football Channel. What's going on? What's up, Big Mike? What's going on, man? Glad to see you here. We have Mason in the house. Brown also had a big TD call back because of Penny. That's true. Got that holding call too. Oh, it's Carl from Jersey. What's up? I knew I'd recognize the name over there. Good stuff, man. Glad to see you here. Yeah, they're making him the new Jordan Howard for Rashad Penny. Neanderthal going Swift was awesome, but Arthur Juwan, boo. Yeah, no, I get it. But for me, I mean, it's hard to say what's going to happen when Gainwell comes back. I'm more prone to the Gainwell side. I think Gainwell will continue to run it. Swift definitely saw better usage, and he's able to do both passing and catching passes and going between the tackles, and he fared much better than Gainwell did last week. But to their credit, the Pats are pretty good against the run comparatively to the Minnesota Vikings. So in this case, we'll have to wait and see. I do think they're going to use Gainwell a little bit more. Just because I feel like they're going to try to keep Swift for the playoffs. I guess it's the only way to keep him healthy, which, we saw a little bit of how that can affect him. So he's going to be a volatile type player. So for me, Swift is a very hard, person to play, but because it feels like he needs to be played every week. So it's going to be a little bit hard to, figure out how to use him moving forward. So, Will Hayes, what's going on, brother? Glad to see you. He asks, who should I start in my flex spot? It's full PPR. He has David Montgomery. Oh, I thought I was I must be reading this wrong. So, PPR, David Montgomery. Oh, I thought I was or Jamal Williams. You're going to have to clean that up for me. I'll get back to it. Don't worry. I will answer that question when you get to it. Right now, it's probably going to be Monty. I liked Monty's usage. I know they're going to incorporate Gibbs a little bit more. Okay, so it's just Gibbs or Jamal Williams. I think I'm going to stick with Monty for the time being. I just trust that matchup a little bit more. Panthers is a good matchup as well, but the point totals are really low for that game. For the other game, it's roughly 47 comparatively to 39. So for me, I like Dave Montgomery there. So yeah, I'd be loading Dave Montgomery in your flex. All righty. So that's kind of my little take. Gainwell, yep. Ron, I agree. Gainwell will be first, second down. Swift probably on third. We'll wait and see how that turns out later on in the season. Hopefully, we'll see a little bit more about that. All righty. So let's get moving. Let's start with the first game. We got the 1-0 Packers going against the 1-0 Falcons at the Falcons. Over-under for this game is 1.5 in favor of the Falcons. The over-under is 40 in this game. It went down, actually, and it's mainly because of what I'm going to talk about right now. So the Packers do have a few injuries. They have Aaron Jones and Christian Watson. They are both questionable for this game. The Packers did bring up Emmanuel Wilson, their running back, from the practice squad. For me, that's telling. I think that means Aaron Jones is on the bad side of questionable, and I don't see Aaron Jones playing in this game this week. He is listed as questionable. He did not practice all week. I just don't see him playing. Watson was limited all week, Watson did not practice up until Friday and was only limited Friday. I still don't see him playing either. So honestly, right now, I do see, as Ron said, Dylan is a viable start this week. He will be moving up in my rankings slowly but surely, but he will be moved up. I have him at 17 right now. I think that's a very decent spot for him, to be honest. So I definitely see him as a good option this week. The Falcons are going to have Cordero Patterson back, which is so we'll wait and see. Falcons, you're going to start the guys that you always do. It's, there's no point in trying to be cute. I think Jordan Love is a decent QB2 option. He's a low end QB1 based on who you have and what's, available. But we'll wait and see. Cal from Jersey. He goes, agreed. Jones doesn't look good. I don't think he's playing. Ronald goes low end RB2 for him for Dylan. Yeah, he could be. I do think Wilson could be involved as well, but on a very lesser extent. I do think that Dylan will have a lot of run in this game. I mean, that's why they kept him and why they want him. So I really do think that Dylan is somebody that you can load up this week and be pretty confident in it. And if you're the Aaron Jones owner, you should have had him in the first place. I am in right now, my level on guys like Kyle Pitts and Drake London, it varies. They're going to be they're so unsure of how much they're going to be used. I just don't trust it. Desmond Ridder is just a gap right now. Like he's a bridge quarterback in a way. He's to the point where I'm not playing him in any shape, way, or form. I'm staying away from Falcons receivers unless I absolutely have no other choice out there. I know that we can probably have the conversation later about the concept of like Drake London or like Puka or something like that, but it is crazy. He might bounce back at one point, but it's crazy. He was barely used in that game. So, and Kyle Pitts as well. So for me, it's one of those things where I'm fading the receivers, but I have no problem running Bijan and Tyler Algier. I think Algier is more of a flex play. I have him ranked at 28 right now. So it's one of those things that I think we kind of overreacted a little bit from last week, but at the same time, it's a trend. Like, Arthur Smith is that guy. So, and agreed with, Carl, low total, heavy run game. It's just that's going to be what they have. So Ron goes, he's going to get a 30% target share. So 25 passes is still like 8 targets. Yeah, but 8 targets coming from Desmond Ridder is really like 2 catches or 3 catches. I value targets when it comes to evaluating my particular wide receiver, but I also look into the quality of the target that I'm getting. If I'm getting it from somebody like Desmond Ridder comparatively to somebody like Justin Herbert or Joe Burrow or any of those guys, to me, it takes that same 8 targets that he would get and it brings it down considerably. So, Neanderthal going, can't freak out about London yet. Look what Swift did. I agree. It's hard to overreact after week 1. Week 1 is one of the hardest weeks to determine, but it's one of those things we got to take it a little bit. We have to see that there are, it could be the case. Now, if you want to be one of those people that likes to go against the grain, he might be the best play to play this week. But he will be going against Jair Alexander. I just don't trust the matchup in any shape, way, or form. That's just my opinion. And yes, they could stack the box as well. We'll see. I really am fading them altogether. Drake London is not someone I'm playing this week. Kyle Pitts, I am not playing this week. Algier, Bijan, I'm good. But on the other side of the ball, Dylan should be fine. Romeo Dobbs, Luke Musgrave. That's about all I can trust at this point. I do not think Christian Watson plays at all. But that's just, from what I can tell based on the injury report and what he's been talking about. I agree, Carl, that it might work out at one point, but not against Alexander. He's not going to do well. Jair is one of the premier corners in the game. So, with that being said, let's move on to the next game. We got the Raiders, who are 1-0, going to Buffalo to face the Bills, who are 0-1, losing to the Jets last week on Monday night. The Bills are favored by 8.5. The over/under for this game is 47. Didn't really do much otherwise, so that it didn't go up or down that much. Nothing was really crazy. The only big news in this is that Jacoby Myers will be out with a concussion. I think everyone was kind of expecting that to begin with. It was a very hard hit if you got to see it live. And unfortunately, he is not going to play in this game. So hopefully he gets better soon and, is out there next week. He had a hell of a game last week. So hopefully he's back soon. Guys in this game, I mean, you could pretty much load up everyone. It's a decent over-under. Allen's fine. Cook, I thought, did real well last week. I thought he had he looked fast. He did good in between the tackles. He was even involved in the passing game. Damian Harris wasn't even involved. Gabe Davis looked decent. Kincaid and Knox were both kind of used the same. They're using that 11.5 package. So we'll wait and see how that goes. I'm not loading up those guys just yet. I don't really trust them in redraft and things like DFS. If you want to play them as a low option, I don't mind that as all, that much. I think that's not a bad play. Raiders side of the ball, it's Jacobs and Adams. Just leave it at that. I don't think Hunter Renfrow will get much of a, change. Michael Mayer, I have no idea where he went. You're going to, just cut him from your roster. Austin Hooper was used more. But hold on, Ron. What do you mean by 11.5? It was 8.5. 8.5. Did I say 11? If I said 11, I did not mean it. It was 8.5. The line for the game. Buffalo is favored by 8.5. But yeah, other than that, Jimmy is a viable QB2 in super flex leagues. If you're looking to use him, I think he's more of just like a super flex option. Other than that, I don't trust Hunter Renfrow at this point. I don't think he really will do anything for you. There really isn't much. So they call it 11.5 because, okay, so you were referring to the formation. So 11 personnel is one wide receiver, 3 wide. So they call it 11.5 because Kincaid can line up outside as like a third wide receiver, but a tight end. So they've been calling it, in this case, 11.5 because it's not really 12, because 12 man is 2 tight end and one running back. So that's what I mean by that. So they're trying to say is, yeah, he can be used as like a slot receiver. So I heard that term. They used it, in some interviews and stuff. I thought it was funny. It's a good, good name for it. Overall, like I said, it's one of those things where load up your Bills. You can play the 2 best options on the Raiders, but everyone else, I pretty much fading away. No need to play Hunter Renfrow. No need to pick him up either. So yeah. All right. Next, we got the Ravens, who are 1-0, going against the Bengals at the Bengals, who are 0-1. Good AFC North battle going on here. The Bengals are favored by 3.5. The over-under is 46.5. Hasn't moved at all. The big news today is that Andrews fully practiced today. He is still questionable. It looks like he will be playing. They keep saying that he is more, they're really expecting him to play. Everything's very positive. But it is the first time that he's practiced in full in the last few, they said the last few weeks. So take it with a grain of salt. But either way, I do think that, him being back, that's significant. We saw Lamar Jackson have a really rough day last week. His box score alone, I mean, he was 17 for 22, which isn't horrible. Yards per attempt were only 7. He had 1 interception, no touchdowns, 169 yards. He did run the ball a little bit, but not as, much as he usually does, only, 38 yards. He was very kind of held in by the Texans. So we'll wait and see. Flowers had a great game, last week, which is great. I think, it's really surprising to see just because he's a rookie, but he is very special. He had 10 targets, 9 receptions, 78 yards last week. I do see something similar this week. So load up Zay Flowers. Odell Beckham is kind of a, no longer, he's a footnote. 3 targets last week, nothing crazy. Isaiah Likely wasn't even involved. So all those that were saying, go get Likely, I wasn't really for it. I didn't see much. So we'll see. Like, I don't trust Lamar as far as I can throw him. Like, for me, Lamar has never been anyone that I really, liked. You guys all know that. But we'll see. Yeah, Ron's been saying. I've been saying it since he went to Cleveland. Ever since he left the Giants, he pretty much fell off the face of the earth. The Rams were the only place that he did well. I thought, he did well with Eli for his years there, but I think he did really well when he was in, when he played for the Rams. I thought him and Stafford had a really good connection, and I thought he played pretty well considering until he got the ACL injury. So, overall, you're going to be playing. Burrow, you're going to, don't worry about what Burrow did last week. It was a fluke. Just, rainy day, crappy weather. Just they haven't played together in a few weeks since he hurt the calf and everything. So let them gel, let them get themselves in a rhythm. You're playing Chase, you're playing Higgins too. Don't stress about Higgins. If you dropped Higgins or you did something silly with Higgins, that's your fault. I think, he had 8 targets. Come on. He had 8 targets. Just let it be. He'll be fine. I'm not really worried about Higgins at all. Mixon, leave him be. He's fine. For the running backs, we have Justin Hill. They brought up Melvin Gordon. They also have Gus Edwards. I do think that Gus Edwards kind of gets between the 20s. I do think Justin Hill will be more of a passing back and closer to the red zone. So for his own, whoever you want in this particular case, we'll have to wait and see. So I really do think that it will be hard to tell at first. I think Melvin Gordon's going to be used at goal line as well, and just to spell people. So it's going to be interesting to see the backfield. I'm kind of staying away from it unless you have no other option. I think if anything, Gus is the safest option. I think the highest ceiling for this particular group is probably Justice Hill. But Gus is the consistent, like he's the standard. So he's they're low end flexes though. He is not somebody that I like at all. Ron goes, Hill sucks. He'll phase out and beat Gordon and Gus. It'll probably be that. I honestly, just, he's the youngest of the group. He's the better pass catcher. So PPR leagues, I have Hill a little bit higher, but I do think Gus is the consistent. I think he's the more, he'll be used more. I do think Gordon will be, sprinkled in there as well. I'm not in it. I'm not behind this particular backfield to support it. I do think that this game is going to be, decently high scoring. And I agree with Carl here. Baltimore's offense overall is pretty sketchy at the moment. I agree. I definitely agree. Neanderthal goes, Flowers look good. I drafted him in our keeper league. Hope he keeps it up. Good, man. I do like I was upset that I didn't get him in a few leagues. I didn't get him or Addison. Those were the 2 I wanted. And unfortunately, I didn't get what I wanted. He says Gordon has plenty left. I hope so. I like Gordon a lot. So I've always been a fan of Melvin Gordon. So hopefully they can use him correctly and it'll all work out. So, all righty. Let's move on to our next game. Oh, and first off, let's wait for a second. So Ronald lost Dobbins in 2 of 4 leagues. I didn't draft Dobbins anywhere. I don't like Dobbins. I wasn't a fan of him in general. I never really got behind him. He just was never somebody I liked at all. So I never really supported it. So, yeah. All right, let's get into the next game. It is the Seahawks, who are 0-1, going to Detroit to face the Lions at 1-0. Detroit is favored by 5. Nice. Over-under is 47. Now, here's the thing. Seahawks they don't have anybody that really matters that is hurt. A lot of guys are listed as undisclosed, so it was hard to tell who's who. But in this particular case, it's to the point where the Lions do have Taylor Deckert, who's going to be doubtful for this game. That's big for this line. Frank Ragnow, he popped up on Friday. He should be okay. But losing Taylor Deckert on the tackle is going to be difficult, really difficult. So either way, I do think I think the line will be fine. Otherwise, I think they're going to try to stay away from passing that much, or quick passes are going to be more the option. I think they're going to just run it the best they can, and like they have been. So that's going to stay. So like I said, David Montgomery, fine. Gibbs, throw in a flex if you want. I do think that they will start, moving him, using him a little more. David might kind of go down a little bit, but not too much. I think it's going to still be effective, and everyone's going to do well. St. Brown, fine. Goff, in certain situations, go for it. Other than that, Sam Laporta, I do think can be used now. I think he's low end tight end 1. Or high end tight end 2 that has tight end 1 upside based on the format that you play in. Premium, I think he can go up. But either way, I do think that Sam Laporta can start to be used a little bit more. They targeted him a lot. Josh Reynolds is their number 2, if you want to put him that way. So this Lions offense does have a lot of options to go with. The Seattle Seahawks, on the other hand, Geno kind of, I wouldn't say fell out of grace, but he had a rough go last week. It was raining for his game. It was a little rough. But DK, keep him in, lock it. He should be fine. JSN will move. Right now I'm not playing JSN anywhere. Just keep him out of your lineup. Keep him on your bench. He will find his time. Ken Walker, go for it. Load him up. He should be fine. Lions have a rough time against the run. I do think that Ken Walker should do fine in this game. Zach Charbonnet, I think we overread that a little bit. So for now, I think that's who you're going to be playing. Noah Fant, there's no point. If you have Noah Fant, then you're in a really rough spot. Carl goes, I love Laporta. I love Laporta thing. He will be a big factor versus Seattle, a startable season long. Yeah, I agree. I have him starting over Gerald Everett. So, all righty. Let's get to a question that we got here from Cadillac. What's going on, Cadillac? He goes, so I have a Garrett Wilson problem. Trying to replace him with a solid wide receiver 1. Which running back should I pair him with to get one of those? Okay. He goes Lamb, Ridley, Sun God. Oof. You have Barkley, you have Hall, you have Pacheco, you have Walker, you have Mostert. You have a pretty potent team right here, there, Caddy. That's a really nice team. If you're trying to pair off Garrett Wilson and CeeDee Lamb, you better be getting CMC. Like, that's who you should be getting. Even if you put in Sun God, even if you put in Ridley, if you're packaging something up, you should be getting the best player in the game currently. So it should be a Mahomes, it should be a CMC. You should be getting somebody that is just a top tier person. Honestly, I think you can get away with. I think you can just do like Garrett Wilson and Mostert, or Garrett Wilson and Walker, and try to get a RB1 if that's what you're looking to do. Or if you're looking to get another wide receiver, which I think is silly. I think you're pretty good. But I honestly, I probably wouldn't do too much. I wouldn't really. Yeah, that's rough, man. That's rough. Oof. Honestly, I wouldn't really do much with that. You have a really good team with what you have. There's really no point in trying to fix it. I think Garrett Wilson would be fine moving forward. You can still play Lamb, Ridley, and Amon St. Brown. If it's a 3, I would do Barkley Hall or Barkley Walker, the rest of the time. If anything, you can sell off Wilson and like Mostert for, a stronger running back or something like that. But other than that, I think you're good to go, bro. John Paul, what's going on, brother? He goes, who should I flex? He goes, Judy, James Cook, or Tyler Lockett. I always tend to go to the running back when I get these flex questions, especially if it's a like half PPR league. Sometimes I'll lean the wide receiver based on the wide receiver if it's full PPR. But in this particular case, I'm going to lean James Cook. And I'm going to agree with Ronald here. I know you got to pull off a 40% win. For me, it's James Cook. Definitely James Cook. So, Neanderthal goes, should everyone be losing it over Garrett Wilson because of A-Rod's injury? He got a rookie of the year and flustered in an offense without him. No, I agree. I think people are overreacting to the Wilson stuff. I think he's going to be used. I think they're going to use him just as much as they did last year. He's one of the best, wide receivers in the league. And as you said, he got offensive rookie of the year. I do think that he can be used more. I think he's more a wide receiver 2, like a high end wide receiver 2 with wide receiver 1 upside. So you can kind of bring him down a little bit. But if a lot of people drafted him as that wide receiver 1, I still think you can think of him that way. But I think in my head, he's going to be wide receiver 2 moving forward. But I'm going to hold steady. I agree. So Ron thinks, I think he is trying to trade for Lamb, Ridley, or St. Brown. I don't think he has that. Okay. So he's trying to trade for those guys. Okay, so if you're going to do that, if you're looking to get Ridley or Sun God, yeah, you don't have to give up much. Garrett Wilson and like Mostert should do it. Like you don't really have to give up much. I think Wilson is good on his own, to be honest. So that's just me. There we go. Okay, cool. So Randy Miller, what's going on, Randy? Glad to see you tonight. Happy you can join us. He goes, stack Zay Jones with Trevor Lawrence, or start Zay Flowers, Dotson, or Elijah Moore, full PPR. I'm down 50 already and need an absolute ceiling play. Whew, that's tough. See, that's a tough one right there. Oof. So you got Washington versus the Broncos with Dotson. You got Zay going against the Bengals. And Elijah Moore going on Monday night against the Steelers. Oof. But you have T-Law. That's tough, bro. They're going against the... So we're going to get into that game in a minute. The Chiefs. Oof, that's a good game, too. Yeah, I think I'm going to stick with your original roster and not try to get cute. Trevor Lawrence with Zay Flowers, Dotson, and Elijah Moore. I mean, you could probably switch out Moore for Zay Jones. I think that's what I would do. Just because I like Moore. I liked him a lot. He got targeted. I think he did pretty well considering. But he had a couple of really bad drops that game. It was wet, like I said. But I mean, what did he get here? He got 7 targets, 3 receptions. He did pretty good. Average depth of target, 6. I think the Jags are going to be playing from behind, or they're going to be going back and forth. It's going to be a pretty big shootout overall, in my opinion. Yeah, I think right now, man, I'm going to go with Dotson, Flowers, and Jones. So if you're going to play Jones, take out more. Like if that's what you're talking about, I'm pretty good with that. I think you could get away with that. But if you're only looking for one of those, that's tough. If you're picking between Dotson, Jones, Moore, and Flowers, I would have to probably lean Dotson. Yeah. But honestly, if you're able to go with all three, Moore's the one out of the equation. But this seems like a wide receiver 4 or wide receiver 3 play. So, yeah, I like Dotson a little bit better. So that's what I was trying to say. Like I was. That's why I was looking for the thing. Their cornerback 2 is horrible. I mean, he's not going to be going against Surtain. Dotson. They're going to put Terry on him. Yeah, I like Dotson a lot. He goes, I like Dotson because Terry getting clamped by Surtain. Yeah, that's exactly. I honestly think Dotson's going to have a game. Load him up where you can. So yeah. Yep. So Carl goes, I have one. Start Javonte Williams or Isaiah Pacheco. That's a good one. I think I'm going to go with Javonte Williams. I think that he looked good coming back. I thought he was pretty solid overall. So for me, I think that it's probably the best option to go with Javonte Williams. I mean, I'm looking for his stats from last week because he looked good. The backfield looked good, like with how he was used against the Raiders. I mean, he was he led the carries with 13. He was involved in the passing game as well. He had 6 targets. Yeah, Javonte. Just load him up. I don't like Pacheco. So Randy goes, do you pay attention to gambling lines when choosing these things like player receiver props? No. What I do if I'm looking at the line or if I'm looking at gambling stuff, in this particular case, what I tend to do a little bit more is I focus more on the over-under. The reason why I'll focus on the over-under is because then I know that, Vegas is thinking in their head that it will be at least or around this many points. Now, they do think about which side will score more and so on and so forth, or, what the score would be. But overall, if I see a game that's in the 50s, so if one of the games we're going to be talking about in a few minutes is going to be the Chiefs Jaguars, which, you guys are bringing up now. But the Chiefs Jaguars is the over-under is 51. Something like that makes me think, oh, okay, this game is going to be high scoring and they're going to want to throw the ball a ton. When I look at the Broncos Commanders game, they're only 39. That's where what are we going to do here? Sometimes I use it, sometimes I don't. If I see a low over under and a high spread, so like if what's one of the so the Dallas game, Dallas versus the Jets, Dallas is favored by 9, but the over under is 38. To me, that's just I'm leaning all Cowboys. Like that's just I read it like that. So all righty. So let's get into some more questions. You guys are loading up the chat, which is great. Thank you so much. If you guys have more, keep them coming. Like I said, I'm going to try to answer questions after I go through game breakdowns. But if your particular question goes into a game, I will make sure to throw it in there as well. Super C and B challengers. What's going on, man? Glad to meet you. I hope you're having a great night. He goes, yo, sit 1 PPR. Miles Sanders, Dave Montgomery, Breece Hall. I'm going to have to lean Miles Sanders. It's Sanders. Dave Montgomery, I think, looks solid. I think Breece Hall, I think that's going to be what they're going to do. They're going to ease him back in. He looked fantastic last week against the Bills. And they're one of the better, defenses in the league. I do think he'll do fine. So for me, it's Sanders. Has to be Sanders. All righty. He also goes Broncos, Browns, Giants, or Bucks D's this week. Appreciate it. Whew. That's a good question. I'm probably going to lean the Browns. Browns looked pretty good last week. The Steelers the Steelers offense, their offensive line in general looked like doo-doo. Kenny Pickett cannot escape a tackle for his life. I'm going to lean the Browns there. I do like the Giants a lot, but I'm going to lean the Browns. Being a Giants fan, I like them a lot. Ron going, Dalvin can run into walls for Hall. I'm fine with that. Yeah, I still like Bryce. I can't sit Bryce either. Ryan or Randy, I agree with you 100%. I'm gonna sit Miles Sanders there. Carl goes, hey, got to run. Good luck in week 2. Love for you to check out our work over on the BMO channel. Of course, brother. I'll check it out. Make sure you leave the chat or leave your link in the chat so we can get back to it. All right. So make sure you leave that there, Carl. Randy goes, oh, he's talking about Barkley. Yeah, they're going into a whole conversation there about Cowboys and the situation that they're going to have there. I understand what he's talking about, but I do think that I think Breece is going to be fine. He'll be fine. All righty. Let's move on to the next game. We're going to be moving on to the Colts, who are 0-1, going against the Texans, who are 0-1 at the Texans. A good AFC South showdown. 2 rookies facing off with CJ Stroud and Anthony Richardson. So this should be good. We got the Texans, we got Houston favored by 1.5. Over under is 39.5. Okay. Found out today, John Mechie will be making his debut today or Sunday. CJ Stroud popped up on the injury report with a shoulder injury. They said he should be fine, but something to keep an eye on. Zach Moss is off the injury report. Evan Hall is on the IR, so it looks like Zach Moss practiced all week in full, no problems. He's fine from the broken arm. He'll be fine. So it looks like Zach Moss, Deion Jackson. I think Deion Jackson is in the doghouse. He had like 3 or 4 fumbles. No, I think it's going to be Zach Moss. They're going to throw him give him the ball to run, and we'll go from there. I think you're still playing Pierce with lower expectations. I think Nico Collins is fine. We saw what him and Bobby Trees did. I think both did fairly well. CJ Stroud, I think right now, Dalton Schultz, I'm a little disappointed in. Right now, you kind of have to, bring him down a little bit. I agree with Ronald. Moss is more of a flex option. I do have him as my running back. Ooh, did I adjust this yet? Nope, I haven't adjusted this yet. He would be probably around my RB 30-ish, something like that. So it's all good. I'd probably have him at RB 30 roughly. I'm still adjusting these. I usually do adjust them all the way up till game time. So yeah, he's a very good flex option for me. Rasta, don't worry about it, brother. We're here. Glad that he's winning though. But I'm here for the rest of the time. I'm going to try to run through these not as quickly as possible, but make sure when you guys do listen to these, make sure you guys listen to it. We're going to have the chapters in for it so you guys can see it. But yeah, make sure you guys check that out. So yeah, right now, Colts wise, Pittman is a viable low end wide receiver, high-end wide receiver 3, someone that I would plug in if you can. I do think he'll be fine moving forward. I do think that both teams are going to kind of run the ball, which is kind of what we see here. It's run the ball, play defense, based on the stat line. 39.5 kind of shows that right there. So for me, Zach Moss, flex play. You're not playing Mechie. You can play Nico Collins. You can play Damian Pierce. You can play. I think that's about it. You can play Michael Pittman. You can play Anthony Richardson in super flex leagues. Don't suggest it for QB1 leagues or for 1 QB leagues. But if you're going to do it, more power to you. I can't do it. I had a guy in my league play Anthony Richardson over Cousins. I get the upside with the rushing. I do know that the Texans are pretty bad against the run as a whole. Last week they were playing Lamar, but kind of held him in check. He only ran 6 times for 38 yards. I would take the more, I don't have Anthony Richardson ranked any higher than I think 15 any given week. So for me, I'm playing a lot of other guys above Anthony Richardson until further notice. I know he had a good game. I know he was like QB2, QB 3-4 last week. I get it. He has a good rushing floor. He is hurt. He's coming off of a knee injury that I got in the game. I just don't trust it. I'd rather play somebody else at this point. But that's just me. All righty. Moving right along. Yeah. There wasn't a lot of QB running last week. That was like Justin Fields a couple, last year. So it might seem like a lot. For me, that's a little bit for him. He tends to run for like 70, 80 yards. So that's why I said that. All right. Let's move on to the big game of the week. It is the 0-1 Chiefs going against the 1-0 Jaguars at Jacksonville. Kansas City is favored by 3.5. The over-under for this game, like I said before, is 51 points, which is huge. Excuse me. The Jaguars don't have anybody that's crazy hurt. They have a couple of linemen that are coming back from injury, but they are they're questionable. They are expected to play. I'm not really worried about it. Chiefs, on the other hand, they get Travis Kelce back. They get Chris Jones back. CH is also questionable. He does have an illness. He's not going to be used as much, but it's fine. I just want you to be aware of it. God forbid you're playing him and you didn't know that. So in this case, everyone's healthy. It's going to be a good game. This was, we've seen this already in the playoffs. We got to see a great game. I do think that this game is going to be tough. You're going to throw everybody in. Enjoy. I do like Zay Jones. I think he was on the field more than he was on the field. I think he was on the field more than Calvin Ridley. But Calvin Ridley was, of course, used more. So would you play CH? No, don't play CH. I was kind of kidding. It's one of those play all the top end guys from both teams. You're going to play Zay Jones. You're going to play Ridley. Christian Kirk, you can play. I think he's at the low end wide receiver 3 option at this point. I think Zay Jones kind of overtook him after last week. Evan Ingram, you can always start. Trevor Lawrence, you can start. Patrick Mahomes, you can start. Pacheco, you can start. Now I got to figure out the wide receivers for the Chiefs. That's going to be the tough part. Now that Kelsey's back, I think the only guy that I really trust in that grouping is maybe Rice. I don't trust Tony. I don't like Tony. I don't think Tony is worth it. He's dropped in every league that I have. Sky Moore still in between on it. But we'll see. I don't trust any of the receivers other than Kelsey, so I'm going to leave it at that. You're actually right, Ron. I'm thinking of Ross. It's Ross, Justin Ross. So Neanderthal goes, Kelsey is not the savior. Go Jags. Chiefs going 1-3. Okay. Hey, man. I like it. I like it. It's kind of like the Pats back in the day where they used to just beat up on everybody and you always root against them because they were so damn good. Like I'm done with it. Done. Like I like the Chiefs. I like Andy Reid. I like the whole team. I just hate seeing them win all the time. So I like seeing them getting knocked on their ass a little bit. So I hope I hope Jags do well. I'm kind of, I did a whole segment on the Jags with the Dad Bod Fantasy Squad. I enjoyed that very much. Shout out to them. Great group of guys. So if you don't, if you haven't gotten a chance to listen to them, go listen to them. So yeah, Dougie knows Andy very well. They both do. They know each other well. So this should be a really good game. I'm really excited to watch that game this weekend. All right, cool beans. So let's move on and go to the Bears, who are 0-1 going against the Buccaneers, who are 1-0 with Baker Mayfield at the helm. Tampa Bay is currently 2.5-point favorites. The over-under is 40.5. Nothing real significant in this game to talk about with injuries at all. So right now, I mean, who are you playing? Who are you not? I mean, we saw that last week, Rashad White got the, majority of the carries. He should be fine. Throw him in. Baker did okay. He didn't do horrible. I think he was a good option. So for me, Baker might not be a bad option. Chris Godwin, Evans. I think Evans is really, honestly, I think Evans right now is just pissed off and just wants out. He's trying to ball out, try to get that contract somewhere else. He's just like, come on now. So I think he's a big trade, candidate near the trade deadline. So maybe my Giants take a look. We'll see. But I do like Evans. I think Evans is fine. I think Chris Godwin will, make an upswing back up to where he needs to be. At one point, Bears, I mean, we need to figure out this backfield. It looks like Roschon Johnson for the time being. I think you can play him as a flex. DJ Moore is going to, roll into it. It's going to take a minute. He's not going to do – I think everyone had – such high expectations for him because of just the situation and everything. I think Fields is still very tough to understand and his role. I'm not a big fan of him in general. I don't like him. I don't like Lamar. So for me, I stay away from this particular team in a lot of ways. I do, like I said, I do like DJ Moore, the player. But I do think you can play him this week. I think he'll be fine. For now, I think the only guys that you can play are him, Fields. I think Roschon Johnson is probably going to take this role eventually from Herbert. I still think Herbert is the number one. I think Foreman is pretty much he's gone. So don't worry about Deontay Foreman, messing up everything. I think Roschon Johnson is the future for this Bears team. White, I think he'll do fine too for the Bucks. So yeah, load him up. Enjoy. That should be a fun game. It's kind of, low end, but it should be fine. Should be a fun back and forth matchup. All righty. This is the one I wanted to get to for the whole day. I've been waiting for this game. So let's get into the next game. The next game is the Chargers, who are 0-1, traveling to the East Coast to face the Tennessee Titans, who are also 0-1. Chargers are going to be favored by 2.5. Over-under is 45.5. This has a lot more going on when it comes to injuries and things like that. Titans. DeAndre Hopkins has not practiced all week. He has right now the questionable tag. He is a vet. It's not promising. I don't think if he plays, he'll be on some type of snap count. He's older. I get it. We'll see. I don't know what to tell you here. I would anticipate him not playing, and even if he does, he's not going to play a lot. that means it can be one of two people, Treylon Burks, or the guy that I think I prefer more than Burks is Nick Westbrook-Akine. This guy had a I think he's a great ad in deeper leagues. I think he's more for 14-team leagues and DFS. But honestly, the guy had 7 targets last week for 4 catches, 58 yards. Okay, well then, see, Ron, this is where we're gonna have to disagree. Agree to disagree. And the only reason why I say that, in a game where D-Hop was there, he still got 7 targets on top of Hopkins. How many did he have? Hopkins had 13 targets. He was second in targets for this team. Burks had 3. He was 4th, and he was tied with Derrick Henry, who had a better stat line, who was 2 for 56 in catching. I think that Nick Westbrook could step right in and do that. I do think that maybe Chig is involved if Hopkins is out. I don't think like crazy. I'm not like telling you to go play Chig. I think Chig is right now cuttable. You can pretty much let him be. But to be fair, I do think that Nick Westbrook-Akine is someone that you could pick up in deeper leagues, and you could play him in as a low end option if you're looking for it. I do think that he is also a really good DFS play if you're looking to play him for DFS, because he will be dirt cheap, and I think he'll do well. So someone to keep an eye on, but it is what it is. The Chargers have a big injury as well. They also on the defensive side of the ball, they're losing. I think Joey Bosa is not going to play. He hasn't practiced all week. Eckler hasn't practiced all week either. He mentioned in his podcast with Matt Carman how good Joshua Kelly is, and he talked up Joshua Kelly a lot. And there was a report today, he's not flying with the team to Tennessee. So he's listed as doubtful. He's not even going to be playing. It's a foregone conclusion he's not playing. Joshua Kelly will be starting. This moves up Joshua Kelly a ton for me. I have Joshua Kelly now at RB21. He'll probably go higher, to be honest. I do like Joshua Kelly a lot in this offense. I think Titans are very good against the run, though. So I will temper expectations. I mean, they were able to hold guys like Jamal Williams last week to 45 yards on 18 attempts. So they are very good against the run. Jeffrey Simmons is just a whole clogger. The guy he's one of the best D tackles I've ever seen. He's just so good, so quick, so fast for a big guy. So honestly, it's one of those things where I think you can play Kelly because he's really got no one behind him. They brought up Roundtree. That's about it. So for, Joshua Kelly, I think he's good to go. I think you can play, Williams and Keenan and Herbert. I think both guys are going to be fine. Johnston, I'm still in between on. I don't think you can at this point. I already gave my, Derrick Henry is fine. You're not playing Tannehill. If you want to play Treylon Burks, like Ron's saying, go for it. I have no faith in him. I've seen his ability. I like what he can do. He's very talented. He really is. But it's just, he's still coming off in an injury. He might be practiced and, in full and everything's great, but he's still recovering. I don't see it. I just don't see it. So Ron goes, one game, brother. They traded A.J. Brown for Burks. Nick Westbrook-Akine is the team's wide. I know that. I know he is. Actually, he's the wide receiver 3. But that's kind of my point. They used their wide receiver 3 more than their 2. And they were facing the Saints, who the Saints put Lattimore on. They put him on Hopkins. So you would think Burks would eat. He didn't. He didn't do anything. And Burks got 1 carry for 9 yards. I don't trust it. Nick Westbrook-Akine has been the consistent. He's never really gone that far where he's hurt your team or, to the point, like, because you're not playing him most often. But when he does play and he's the lead guy, he's done very well. So just saying. Just saying. It's just, that's just how I feel about it. All right, let's move on to my New York Giants, who are 0-1 going against the Cardinals out in the desert, playing them out west. Giants are the favorite by 4. The over-under for this game is a pitiful 39.5. It kind of flopped here and there. News this morning, Darren Waller, he's fine. He's good to go. He's playing. The only news to kind of keep an eye on is Andrew Thomas, the left tackle for the Giants. He's questionable with a hamstring injury, but he's good to go. He should be playing. Whew. I watched the play where he tweaked it, and you could tell when he did. He just fell flat on his face, but he played through that thing the whole time. It's really, and it was on just like one of the interceptions or whatever happened, or the fumble or whatever, because, man, my Giants got their ass whooped. It was bad. It's a shame. Yes, shame that Dallas, but it was kind of funny at the same time. No, it wasn't funny. It was pitiful. It was a disgrace. So Darren Waller is fine. Cardinals don't have any injuries that are concerning to anybody in the fantasy world. The only guys who are starting in this game are James Conner. I think that at this point, Hollywood Brown is a afterthought. You can throw him in as a wide receiver 3 or a flex option, but to be honest, I wouldn't trust it. Zach Ertz is somebody that you can keep your eye on. I think he will be heavily involved in this game. He had 10 targets last week. He didn't go for a lot. I think it was only like 26 yards if memory serves me correct. But hey, 10 targets is 10 targets. He did very well with the fact that he caught all 10. I mean, what was he? He was 10 for 6 and 21. Average, yard per target was 2. So, I mean, they pretty much just dumped it to him. He was just a dump, here, PPR leagues, Ertz should be, rostered, and you can play him. I think you can play him with confidence. I know he's coming off the ACL, but I do like him a lot. So, Giants-wise, I think you're playing Darren Waller. I think you're fine with him. Barkley, I think you can play him. Give Daniel Jones one more chance. He does have a high rushing floor. You're not touching Joshua Dobbs. There's just no point. Wide receivers for the Giants, I think the only ones that you can really trust are Isaiah Hodgins and Hyatt for the time being. I don't think Slayton can be trusted. He is a boomer bust play. It's somebody that you're going to be throwing a real dart in general. So for me, I'm not going to play any of the Giants wide receivers. I'm not going to toss them away though. I'm going to keep them on my bench, see how that goes. So I'm really looking forward to that moving forward. So, all righty, let's get to the chat and answer some questions. We got PS4 videos. How does it feel to know none of you will ever beat Blastman 420, the universal regarded GOAT of fantasy football? No idea. I don't know how I feel. I don't even know who you are. We got Warrior Loft in the house. What's going on, brother? How you doing? Glad to see you. Ron goes, remember when McBride was a first-round dynasty pick? Yes, I do. I think a lot of people thought he was a first-round dynasty pick. He actually is a decent tight end. It's going to take time. I mean, he was 2 for 2 for 23. So that's not bad last week going against the Commanders. I do think that they'll both be used, but I think that Zach Ertz is Zach Ertz. I mean, he knows how to find that zone and just get those quick little third downs and, move the ball forward. So, all righty. Warrior goes, start Puka Nuka versus the 49ers or Zay Jones versus Kansas City. Warrior, you gave me a real tough one. I mean, we are going to be talking about this game very shortly. I just talked about the Jaguars game against the Chiefs. Puka is injured. He does have a oblique injury that came up on the injury report yesterday. That's a tough one. I think I'm going to say I want to say Zay Jones, but it's just eating me on the inside because I saw what happened. I think Nuka could be okay. I think you should roll with him. If you played him last week, roll with him this week. I think you'll be fine. Emil, what's going on, brother? Glad to see you. As Ron said, long time, brother. Glad to see you. He goes, thoughts on Garrett Wilson rest of the season. We just talked about Garrett Wilson. I'll give you a quick little breakdown of what I think. I do think that I think he's more of a high-end wide receiver 2 than a low-end or a medium. I think right now he's a high-end wide receiver 2 with wide receiver 1 upside. I think it's one of those things where you need to bring him down a little bit in your thought process of, he's not a wide receiver 1, but I think he's their top option. They don't really have anyone behind him. Alan Lazard is there. Okay. Woo. But other than that, they really don't have much. I think that they're going to still have to throw it. Zach Wilson, of course, is not the best quarterback in the world, but they still got to throw the damn ball. And he still caught the ball. And he still did real well last year. I see the upside. I think he could be fine. Just hold tight. But for now, he kind of takes a step back. So Ron goes, Wilson be a low to middle and wide receiver 2 still. So he's a little bit lower on Garrett Wilson in this particular aspect. He doesn't see the wide receiver upside that I do. He thinks Harmon for a deep post might be the better option. Hey, man, I feel a little bit more confident about it than you do. This week, probably not, but moving forward, I think moving forward, he's a better option. It's just one of those things where this week is a little bit tougher. He's going against Trayvon Diggs. Cowboys, you saw what they did to Daniel Jones. It's scary. It's scary. We're going to talk about that game in a few minutes, but it's scary. Ryan Graham, great to have you here. Glad to see you. He goes, I was offered Cooper Kupp for Waddle and Brian Robinson. Okay. What are your thoughts on the trade and Kupp's health? So I don't see Kupp coming back until week 5. It's a hamstring. I mean, I'm currently dealing with a hamstring injury. I pulled my hammy about a week ago. I felt it pop. It was definitely not a fun feeling. It's been a week. I feel 10 times better than I did last week. But I'm not an athlete. I'm not Cooper Kupp, who's getting all these, hyperbolic treatments and all this other stuff. He's getting the full workup. And he's got millions of dollars, people taking care of him. He's healthy and, he's younger than me. So do I think that he will recover and come right back into the role? I hope so. I really do. I really, really do. I want him to come back, and when he does, he will be a top 10 option. He's that good, in my opinion. I don't think that you should worry just yet. I think you should just hold off. Say, nope, I'm good. Waddle as a starter is great, but he gets banged up throughout the time too. I mean, Kupp is this is a rare occurrence for him. Like I said, he's getting older, but unless if this is a dynasty league, I might be a little bit more inclined to be okay. Like I might do that in a dynasty league, but if it's a redraft league, I'd be a little less. I'd be like, it'll be fine. Honestly, I think I kind of agree with Ronald here. He didn't rely on his speed. He will be fine. He will be. He's a quick runner, but it's more he's short, intermediate, and on the sideline type stuff. He's good at good quick slants and stuff like that. I'm not worried about it. So Ronald goes, he can't come back till 5, Mike. He's on a pup. No, I know. That's why I said he can't come back he can't come back until week 5. Like, he can't even come back until the Eagles game. So I wouldn't do it. I would kind of just hold tight. Like I said, Dynasty is the only league that I'd be like, maybe, just because you're getting 2 really good young options. But if it's redraft, I'm not even, nope, I won't do it. He says, thanks, man. So you're welcome. I hope that was helpful. I hope you understand where I'm going with that. So good luck with that. Hopefully, maybe, if you can find something better, great. But B-Rob is not trash. He had a good game last week. He touched the ball 19 times, ran it 19 for 59, and had 2 targets and a touchdown. No. Keep him. He's fine. He's fine. All right, Perry. Perry's in the house. What's going on? Pittman for Connor, full PPR. What up, Mike? I might lean Pittman here, just because it's full PPR. Connor going against the Giants. Hate betting against my Giants. Yeah, I'm gonna have to change my answer. I think I'm gonna have to agree with Ron, unfortunately. Going to the Connor side. I think I'm gonna go with Connor here. Oh. Yeah, well, Ron's saying it's for a trade either way. Yeah, if it's not for a trade, yeah, I might lean Connor too for the rest of the season. He'll touch the ball more. All right, let's get into a game that we're going to pretty much gloss over, or at least for a sec. That's the 49ers, who are 1-0, going to Los Angeles to face the Rams, who are 1-0 as well. The line for this game is 7.5 in favor of the San Francisco 49ers. The over-under is 45 points. The only significant injury at this point is the Rams. They have Pukanuka is questionable with an oblique injury. He was added on Thursday. They don't seem to be too concerned. So for now, I do think that he'll be fine. They're going to use him just like they did, maybe a little less. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see how that goes. So you're starting CMC, starting Kittle. I think that's a foregone conclusion. You could probably start Brock Purdy in Superflex leagues. Stafford, probably Superflex league if you're available. The running back situation, I think, is the one thing to be looking at here. Kerwin Williams or Cam Akers. I think that's the biggest thing to try to, distinguish. I do think Higbee you can still start. Van Jefferson is kind of taking a back seat, which is sad. Pukanuka had a great game last week, which is crazy to hear. But it's great to see. So yeah, I think Puka can be started. I think the running backs, I would avoid every single one of them. If you're going to play any of them, it would probably be Akers. Maybe he's more involved in the passing game. But I'm staying away from it if possible. So let's get to a question in the chat. We got Ray Gamer. What's going on, Ray? Glad to see you. It's been a while, so I'm happy to have you back. He goes, David Montgomery versus the Seahawks at home, or Joshua Kelly versus the Titans in standard scoring for my flex. Ooh, that is a good question. I do have David Montgomery ranked higher. I have him at 11. I do have Joshua Kelly at 21. So they're in 2 different tiers for me. But I do like Joshua Kelly. Like I said before, I think he's a really good, solid option for people that need him. But I do think that David Montgomery is the better choice here. And Ronald agrees. So let's go David Montgomery. All in on him. All right, this is another game that might be very quick to go through. And that is one of our evening games, which is the Jets, who are 1-0. Going to Dallas to face the Cowboys, who are 1-0 as well against my Giants, unfortunately. Dallas is favored by 9. I'm surprised it's not by 12, 13, 14. The over-under is 38 points, which are probably in all favor to the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys, right now, they have a few injuries. They have Zach Martin and Brandon Cooks, who are both questionable. It looks like Martin is on the better side of it. Cooks is not. So it looks like Brandon Cooks might not be playing in this one, which would mean Michael Gallup would be the number 2 option. So we'll have to see how that goes. You could probably start Gallup. I think Gallup should. I don't think you should start him unless you're in a deep league. But no, don't start him at all. He's just not worth it. I traded him the other day. CeeDee Lamb, I think you can load up. You can definitely load up Tony Pollard without thinking twice. Dak, I don't like playing Dak. I don't think Dak is someone you can start. He is not a good quarterback. Otherwise, Jake Ferguson, he did pretty well last week. So you can, I think you can probably, I wouldn't start him though. I do think Dallas is just going to go up and they're going to just get, I think it's going to be like the Giants game, unfortunately. They have one of the best pass rushes I've seen. The Jets don't really have that great of a offensive line. I think Zach Wilson's going to be running for his life and not sure what to do. I'm just, Dan Quinn knows how to run a defense, and I think he's going to have I think Zach Wilson's going to have a really hard time in this particular matchup. So, to load up your Cowboys, temper expectations for the Jets. I do think Breece Hall you can play. I do think Dalvin Cook you can play. I think that they're going to try to use time of possession. If the Jets are going to try to use that, they're going to use the time of possession, run the ball, play defense. That's what they're going to do. The Jets do have a formidable defense. I do think they have a good defense. So I do think that this is going to be a little, it's a low scoring game to begin with, but I think they're going to run the ball, try to play as much defense, take as much pressure off Zach Wilson as possible, and just run those two into the ground. I think Garrett Wilson is a lesser of a play, even though you can't bench him for somebody else. There's no one else on your team that you can bench him for. So you're going to play him, but lower expectations. I do think he's going to have a very difficult day going against Trayvon Diggs. It's going to be tough. So, let's move on to the Commanders, who are 1-0, going out west to face the Denver Broncos, who are 0-1. Right now, Denver is favored by 3.5. The over-under is 39 points. Big news is Jerry Jeudy is ready to go and should play this Sunday. He is expected to play at this moment, and he will not be on a pitch count, which is kind of cool. Good to hear from him. Glad he's coming back healthy. Commander's side of the ball, Chase Young will make his season debut, so he will be back and ready to go. All right, cool. So for this particular game, the over-under is so low and the teams are so in between. Like Patrick Surtain's going to be good. I think Dotson, like we talked about, should do very well against the number 2 for the Denver Broncos. So I think he'll do fine. I think Brian Robinson should do fine. Sam Howell, he's a low-end option. You don't really need to play him. Russell Wilson, if you have better options. I mean, he's more of a wide receiver, or he's more of a QB2 for super flex. I think Courtland Sutton is usable in this game. I think he'll be fine. I think Javonte Williams is going to do very well as well. I think you can start him with confidence. Other than that, Adam Troutman might be a decent option at tight end for you if you're looking for a low, if you're kind of streaming tight end and you're looking for somebody. Adam Troutman. I like Adam Troutman a lot. I think they're using him a lot more. He was heavily targeted in the the game last week against the Commanders. He's facing the Commanders. Sorry, I'm looking at two different schedules. I think he did very well last week. Against the Raiders, yeah. This is a good question. So Ronald goes Javonte Williams or Breece Hall. That's a great question. And it's half PPR. I'm going to lean Javonte. I think Commanders have a decent defense, but I think it's not up to the same par as the Cowboys. I do think Hall will get the ball more, but I think Javonte looked pretty good last week. So I'm going to lean Javonte here. I think they're at the same tier, though. I think they really are. I have Javonte currently ranked at – I have them ranked right next to each other, 25, 26. I'd probably make it where Javante's higher. I'd probably put him there. I'm still working out my rankings, but they're around that 24, 26 area. So, yeah, Javonte is my that's who I'm leaning. All right, cool beans. So we are moving right along. Let's get into the Sunday night football game. We have the AFC East matchup between the 1-0 Dolphins at the New England Patriots, who are 0-1. Miami is favored by 3, heading up north. Over-under is 46.5. Pretty decent over-under. Dolphins, the only guys they had on injury report were Mostert and a chain, and they were both full participants in practice. They're good to go. So Raheem Mostert kind of scared everybody on Wednesday. He didn't show up, but he was back Thursday and Friday. So Mostert's fine. I do think he's a low-end play more than a high-end play. Just because, Bill is good at stopping the run. So for me, he's break glass type play. If you have somebody better, I'd throw them into the particular, flex spot. Pat's Devontae Parker was limited all week and is questionable. Doesn't mean he's going to play, but there's a good chance that he might. If he does, he would probably be the number one option other than Kendrick Bourne. So I don't trust the whole Kendrick Bourne situation. He did really well last week, but I don't trust it. Ramondre Stevenson, Jesus, talk about someone that fell from grace. Hopefully he gets himself back up. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Tua, you're starting. Hill, you're starting. Waddle, you're starting. No problem. Stevenson, you're going to have to start in most situations. Zeke, I think, is startable and as a flex option. But yeah, I think those are the guys you can start for that game. I don't think there's much. I think Hunter Henry you can start. Do I dare say Durham Smythe is a tight end option? No, I'm not going to say that. You could probably, Ron, what I'm trying to say is you don't need to start Zeke, but in some situations, you probably could start him as a low-end flex play. He's viable. He was used quite often. Let's look at the particular stats to kind of back my play here. He was 7 for 29 in rushing, and he was used out of the backfield with 7 targets, 5 for 14. He did have 1 fumble loss, which was kind of really bad. But honestly, he's being used in a way that you can trust him. So I think a flex play is not horrible. I don't think they're giving it all to Stevenson, unfortunately. But definitely someone that I have no problem with. So, all right, Raymond, what's going on? Glad to see you. Hope all is well. He goes, start one between Mike Williams, Puka, and Miles Sanders. So he tells us that it is full PPR. I'm going to lean probably Puka here. It's hard to trust Mike Williams in PPR. Puka, we know, is going to be targeted unless it's part of the game plan where they take him out of it. He is facing the Rams, but they're going to have to throw the ball a ton to keep up. Chargers are going to be probably in a slugfest with the Titans. it's hard to deny what Puka did. I don't really think Miles Sanders is in this conversation, unfortunately. Mike Williams, though, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about Mike Williams. He's a talented player. I think he can do a lot. He was 5 for 4, 45 yards. Yards per target were 9, so he was thrown downfield a lot. Longest was 24. I think your safest pick is Nuka. I think your ceiling pick is Mike Williams. So if it's based on what you're looking for here, I do, like I said, I think the floor pick is Nuka. I think the ceiling pick is Williams. So yeah. Raymond, you ask Miles Sanders or Javonte Williams. Miles gets a lot of touches, but Javonte might have the edge. It is Javonte. I don't have to think about that one. So yeah. Yep. Going Javonte. Chris, what's going on, man? Great to see you. Glad to have you on the show. Start 2, PPR flex spot. Okay. He's got Drake London. He's out of the equation. Throw him out. Elijah Moore. Put a pin in it, but he's kind of off the radar. To me, it's Nico Collins or Javonte Williams. I honestly would prefer Nico Collins or Javonte Williams in this particular case. So those are my two. It is Nico and Javonte for me. I like Nico Collins a lot. I think he saw a huge target share last week. I think he will continue to see a big target share moving forward. And yeah, go Nico Collins. I talked him up all year, all offseason. You now see why. So Stroud's going to play. I wouldn't stress it even if he doesn't, honestly. When he played with David Mills, he still did real well. And David Mills, is comparable. I mean, they're pretty much, I wouldn't say they're the same, but they're both young. They're both good. They can both throw it deep. And to be honest, Nico Collins' average, yards per target were 7. His longest was 26. His average depth of target is, I think, a lot higher than that. He had 11 targets for 680 yards. Like, that's his normal. Don't stress. Nico is fine. Yeah. Neither quarterback's good, but he still does well. And I don't like Elijah Moore too much. I do like Nico a little bit better. I mean, Elijah Moore didn't have a horrible game last week against the Bengals, but that game is hard. It's hard to trust that game because of all the factors and variables that were in that game with the weather and how things were and, just the general gist of it. I mean, Elijah Moore had 7 targets, 3 receptions for 43 yards, and his longest catch was 33. That means to me that he had a lot of uncatchable balls. He only had a few that were on target. Amari Cooper tied him in targets, same catch rate, or, the whole deal. I'm still going to lean Collins just because I like his ability better, and I think he's more the wide receiver 1 on that team than what Elijah Moore is to Amari Cooper, if that makes sense. So I'm going to stick with Nico and Javonte. All right. Cool beans. Now we get a very, very special Monday Night Football week. We have We have a doubleheader Monday Night Football game. First and foremost is the 1-0 Saints going to the Carolina Panthers, who are 0-1, a NFC South matchup. Saints are favored by 3. The over-under is 39.5. Juwan Johnson was on the injury report. He practiced in full. He is off the injury report. He's good to go. Nothing really going on with the Panthers other than JC Horn. He's going to be on short-term IR. But other than that, no other big injuries to really discuss. Thankfully, they're pretty healthy. Otherwise, DJ Chark did practice this week at one point. Let me just double check the injury report for the Panthers. I do remember not seeing anybody significant on there. DJ Chark is just limited the last few days. They have it as unspecified. He's the only other option, but that just means everyone else is good. Ryan Check's good. Kendrick Miller is coming back from a hamstring injury. He was listed as limited and limited. I think he was also limited today. Or no, he was limited today. He most likely will be tomorrow. He's expected to play at this point, but we'll wait and see how that turns out. So for me, yeah. Hey, man, it's not that you talk a lot. You have someone to talk with. I can just roll right through it. And I got all these guys in the chat to talk with and everything. So for me, I'm just kind of, running through it. You can start Jamal Williams. You can start Derek Carr. You can start, I think you can start Rashid Shaheed. I think he's a viable starter. Juwan Johnson, you can start. Olave, start. Michael Thomas, you could probably start without a problem. I don't trust it, but you can start it. Mingo, I don't mind. I actually like Mingo. So Ron brings up Mingo. I don't mind Mingo. I think I really do. I think Mingo can do well. Terrence Marshall, I would temper expectations. I would not play him. Adam Thielen, I would play in PPR leagues. Half PPR, I would kind of pull back a little bit. Miles Sanders, I would play. Bryce Young, you're not playing. Hayden Hurst, I think you can play. I think he's a good tight end, low tight end one option. So those are the guys I would probably play for this particular game. All right. Chris goes. Well, let me just check everything. Okay. So Chris goes, do you think the Falcons will start passing more? This London situation is keeping me up at night, bro. Hey, man, it keeps everybody that drafted him awake. I don't have any shares of Drake London. I never got on board. Arthur Smith on the team historically with Arthur Smith and his offensive coordinating. It was rare to see any of the wide receivers do very well. They were there. They caught the ball once in a while. Sometimes they had good games. Sometimes they didn't. They weren't consistent. And I don't trust it. So I'm just hoping for the best and preparing for the worst is the best thing I can say. And that just means I'm going to wait for Drake London to have a decent game and I'm going to trade him. Like I'm going to wait for that one guy that went, I told you so. And then it's like, okay, here, take him. Run. Just take what they give you and run. Will back in asking more questions. He says, pick one, Derek Carr, Mac Jones, or Daniel Jones. Oof. And then pick one, tight end, Sam Laporta, or Hunter Henry, PPR. Woo, that's a good one right there. That tight end one is good. I'm going to lean Laporta. I'm just always going to lean Laporta. I like Laporta a lot. If you didn't catch us during the offseason, I love Laporta. So I'm gonna lean Laporta for that one. For the QBs though, Mac Jones was unbelievably the tight end 2 last week. Or sorry, the QB 2 last week. I don't know how. I honestly don't know how. Don't get it. Derek Carr had a good game going against the Panthers. I don't mind that matchup for him. He's one of the more accurate quarterbacks in this particular group. He doesn't mind running once in a while. Daniel Jones, I like his floor. So for me, Daniel Jones is the floor play. I think Derek Carr is more the ceiling play. I like Carr a little bit more than Jones just as a whole. So I'm going to go Carr for this one. So Carr and Sam Laporta. Rana goes, well, you're not great at reading on the fly, but you're doing good, Mike. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. This is what I do, man. This is what I like. So let's move on to the last game of the evening. That is the Browns 1-0 going against the Steelers, who are 0-1. Another great AFC North matchup. Steelers right now, the only person that you really got to worry about is Deontay Johnson. He will be doubtful this game. He is not playing. He's not going to play for a few weeks, unfortunately. I talked him up all year, so for me, it's a dagger in my dagger right here. Freiermuth, he had a chest injury. He got a huge hit right in the end zone. He's good to go. He'll be fine. So don't worry about that. Browns don't have anybody to speak about. So in this particular game, Chris, I hope this is the case. I know I'm kind of breaking off from that game, but I hope they do. Giants are winning. The Cardinals, Daniel Jones going to go off. I hope so. All right. So, unfortunately, I am going to suggest Allen Robinson. They picked him up for a reason. Allen Robinson is a viable option. He will be the number 2 in this particular offense. Even against the 49ers last week, Allen Robinson led in targets, 5 for 64. Calvin Austin is also somebody that I have no problem picking up. I think he is somebody that you keep on your bench. I'm not a George Pickens fan, but I understand why people lean that way. He is a very talented receiver. But I do think Allen Robinson for PPR leagues is someone that you should look for. I do think he will get a good target share in this particular matchup. I think they're going to be playing from behind. I think they're going to have to throw it. I think Najee is a decent play, even though the Browns, I think they're going to try to keep. For me, I do think. Thanks, Frost. I do think that the Browns are going to get to a point where they're going to just want to keep Myles Garrett in check. And the only way to do that is run the damn ball. I know he can stop the run, but he will hurt you less when you can run the damn ball. So I'm going to run the damn ball, keep it away from, Myles Garrett to try to sack Kenny Pickett, because Kenny Pickett looked like a scared child going against the Eagles. I can only imagine or not against the Eagles, the 49ers. Or no, who they faced last week? Yeah, the 49ers. So for me, I'm sticking to, at this point, I'm not gonna play Pickett. I have no problem playing Deshaun Watson. I think Amari Cooper's fine. I think Elijah Moore in most situations, he's more of a flex play. Chubb, you are running. You're playing Nick Chubb until you're told not to. Until he's out of it. Other than that, I think Allen Robinson you can play. I think he will be a decent play. He's more of a low end, like wide receiver 3 in flex play for certain situations. But I do like Allen Robinson this week. George Pickens, I think they're going to do their best with Denzel Ward on him. Pickens did well against the Browns last season in good matchups. But in this case, I do think, it's going to be interesting. Ronald says, road play more instead of Amari, who tends to do better at home. Okay. I think you can play either or. I think it is what it is. So. All righty. Chris goes, Evan Ingram or Sam Laporta. You want to know something really funny, Chris? That is my dilemma in every conversation that I have with myself, because I always play either one of those guys. I like Evan Ingram. So, yeah. Anthony says, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Of course, I haven't even said that the whole time. I am sorry. I am running through this. I have a long morning. I have to be up early tomorrow. Make sure you guys like and subscribe to the show. Make sure you guys are liking and subscribing to the videos and all the things we do. We're going to be coming out with little shorts and little things coming on. So make sure you guys check those things out on our YouTube channel. Make sure, come on, we're trying to get up to 1,000. Let's get it. We're right there. So make sure you guys help us out. Try to get your friends involved. Make sure everybody is liking and subscribing below. Chris goes, is Rondale Moore droppable? Yes. Kyle Murray is not coming back. It's just what I believe. Based on what I see, based on what I hear, based on what the whole scenario, he is not coming back this year. So I would just chalk it up as a L and move on. No, we are not going to be coming out in shorts. We are going to be making shorts. So we're going to have these little clips for you guys to look at, that have some of our takes that we've discussed, some of the things I've talked about. So more than likely you will have one about, Nick Westbrook-Akine, or you're going to see something about Allen Robinson, or, knowing Ant, he will find a way. So Chris, thank you. Have a great night. He says, noted. Have a great night, boss. Make sure you guys come back on Sunday morning. I will be here at 11 o'clock and helping you with your actives, inactives, daily fantasy. I'm going to do some value picks for you guys, go over injury news, everything leading up. So make sure you guys check us out on Sunday, then come back to us again on Monday. We're going to do our overreaction show and our waiver ads. Then we will be back on Wednesday to do our roster construction to make sure you guys are all set and ready to go before the Thursday night game. And then we're going to be back here again on Friday next week for this, again, the start, sit, and game breakdown. I'm going to have Ant back with me hopefully next week, and we'll be able to, get our takes, both of our takes, instead of just me just yammering this whole time. So make sure you check them out. Also, another cool thing to do, beyond our wonderful redraft leagues and our dynasty leagues and all different types of leagues, there's also Underdog Fantasy. You can do daily fantasy with Underdog Fantasy. You can do pick'em. You can do all different types of stuff. So make sure you guys use this promo code right here. Get right. And when you do, they will match you up to $100 on your first deposit. So make sure you guys check out Underdog Fantasy. They have all different types of stuff. They have pick'ems as well, pick'em specials. They got everything. And it's not just football. They do have golf, baseball, hockey, basketball. You name it, they have it. Make sure you guys check them out. But make sure you guys use this promo code Get Right, and they will double your first deposit. I understand some people might not be able to do this. We have a good, map of everything right here. Soon they are working on these particular areas. So make sure you guys keep a lookout. They will hopefully be coming into that area soon. So make sure you guys definitely check that out. Also, make sure you guys are checking out as well TrophySmack.com. TrophySmack.com is one of the best places out there to get your ring for your league. You can get a customized ring. You can get the belt. Their best seller is their belt. You can also get one of their custom-made trophies right here. Like, this is one of the best things that I've seen. Like, this is a great trophy. I love it. And then you can get the Kirk Cousins chain. These are all customizable, great quality. So make sure you guys check out TrophySmack.com and make sure you guys use the promo code Get Right when you do. Also, make sure you guys check out our affiliate podcast as well, the Fantasy Frontline podcast with Tim and AJ, as well as the Checkdown podcast with Cody McGoats and the whole crew. They are on every Wednesday at 8:30 Eastern. So make sure you guys check them out. And also keep an eye out for Dem Boys in the Dead Zone fantasy show. He will be coming out soon, giving you guys those Dead Zone guys, those guys that you might not think about. So please, if you have any more questions, any of those guys in the chat, make sure you guys throw them in there before I get out of here, I'm going to answer all questions. I want to make sure everybody gets a fair share and make sure I give you guys everybody that you need and help you anywhere I can. So we got Jim Tanner in the house. What's going on, Jim? Hope everything is good. I hope you're having a great night tonight. He goes, rate my team. Okay, not a problem. He goes, Dak, Saquon Barkley, Tony Pollard, DK Metcalf, T. Higgins, Dewan Johnson, Justin Tucker, 14-team PPR. I like it. I think you did pretty well considering who you have. I don't see a tight end, but that's okay. Not a lot of leagues do. I don't mind this team. I really do. I like it. I'm just a little low on Dak. So for me, Dak is the only sore spot in this particular team. Otherwise, I really like this team. I think you had a rough week probably last week just with T. Higgins getting the 0. Justin Tucker. I mean, he's great. I do like a couple other kickers. I do like Elliott a little bit. I do like Moody. And I love my Cameron Dicker. I think he's a great kicker. See what I did there. Yeah, I really like this team. I have really nothing bad to say. He goes, I also have Kyler Murray on my IR. Good. Keep him there. We'll see what happens. If he comes back, then you're good. You don't really have to move him. You don't have to really do much because he's on your IR. You can at least get away with it. For those, I'm kind of curious, like Ron said, what's your bench look like? But your core, I really like. I really do. I think that your starting lineup is very good. I don't think I really have many suggestions for you. I do think you're pretty solid. I would probably, if your bench, it's really based on your bench because your bench kind of it's based on who you can put in and when and all that stuff. But overall, I really like this team as the starters. For a 14 team, this is very good. Like I said, you're a little weak at quarterback for me. I just don't like Dak. I just can't. I can't wrap my brain around Dak anymore. He used to be a QB1. It was the QB1 of all the QBs overall at the end of the season. I still can't believe it. I was fighting for the guy like 3 years ago, or 2 years ago. He was so good back then. Oh wait, was it when he had Amari Cooper? Yeah, it's when he had Amari Cooper. All right, cool beans. So throw anything into the chat. I'm going to start wrapping it up. Of course, the one thing I forgot to do, run the banner. Make sure you guys check this out. It will have the whole schedule underneath. So make sure you guys check it out. We're going to be here, like I said, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Also on Sunday as well. Like I said, I'm going to be here Sunday morning at 8 a.m. We're going to go over actives and inactives. We're going to go over DFS value picks. We're going to give you start and sit questions, like anything that you guys want to throw at me. I'm going to be here to answer all your questions on Sunday morning. That's what I'm here for, to help you guys win your league. So make sure you guys check that out. Make sure you guys are coming to my show on that day. And like I said, we're going to give you everything you can. It's going to be like this, just a little bit shorter, or at least I'll try to make it shorter. But I'm going to give you everything that you guys need. Monday, Frank and Anthony, they'll be back. They're going to help you out with the, how the week went, overreactions to it, waivers, all that stuff. Get you guys set for your particular waiver wire on Tuesday. Then on Wednesday, we're going to come back and help you kind of get that whole thing settled. Yeah, I know. Ron, we all know. I know it's standard time, but it's also daylight time. Like they tell me to do it all different types of ways. Just leave it. We're going to be back Wednesday with the roster construction. And then on Friday, we're going to be here to go over and do all this again, go over the game breakdowns, start sit questions, and make sure we guys help you out with getting your lineup set. So check us out then. Make sure you guys continue to like and subscribe to the show if you haven't already. So, keep this thing going. We are very close. We are almost at 1,000 subscribers. So please help us get to that point. So thank you all for joining me tonight. I really enjoyed it. Ron, thank you again for all your help in the chat. I know you've been answering questions as I've been going, so thank you. I really do appreciate that a lot. It really does help me out. For everybody that asked their questions, to for Jim, for Carl, all of them that I met. Sorry if I forgot your name. Chris, thank you for joining us. Will Hayes, as always. Albert, who's always in the chat. Raymond, thank you for joining us. Ray, of course. Perry Williams, as always. Cadillac, thank you. Emil, always a pleasure. Warrior Loft, always enjoy having you here. So thank you all for joining tonight and throwing your questions in the chat. We will see you all on Sunday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern. I will be here. And we'll see you soon. For Dustin, for Frank, for my boy Anthony, I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of the night. Peace.
Wanted to write fantasy